What? Nope. There it is.
Welcome.
To the joy of coding.
Hello and welcome to episode. What episode is this? It's episode 381. It's episode 381 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to see you. We're going to be live hacking on some Firefox stuff today. This is an interesting time. It's sort of a delayed time of day. It's weird. I've never streamed at this time of day before, at least not in recent memory. I'm doing it 1 hour ahead. This is out of acknowledgement of daylight savings time, but in actuality, it's because there was a meeting overlapping the original streaming, and I didn't want to skip another episode. I'd been skipping too many episodes for the past couple weeks because of meetings, and so I'm doing this one just a little bit later. I shifted the times, so hopefully this is not too disruptive for you. All right, here's my screen. Hey, it's October 30th, 2024, episode 381. A reminder, No Plan Survives Breakfast. I think I know what's going to go on today. I think I know what's going to happen during the stream, but I could be wrong. I've got some plans, some things I want to cover, but, we might get sidetracked. We might go down a deep rabbit hole. We'll see. People are talking about a nice costume. Just wait for it. I'm gonna switch over. Hang on. I'm a Beastie Boy. I'm a Beastie Boy now. If I wear my hat like this, I'm a Beastie Boy. Profiles. There you go. That's my costume. I'm gonna wear my hat sideways. The headphones are really not agreeing with it, but I might not even need to wear the headphones. I'll just wear them around my neck like a DJ. Now I look like what is his name? One MC and three MCs and one DJ. Mixmaster Mike. That's who I am. I'm Mixmaster Mike. And I've got the sideways hat. I can do this. I can go like whoop 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 whoop. There you go. There's my Halloween costume. Boom, improvised. So yeah, No Plan Survives Breakfast. I think I know what's gonna go on today, but it might not. I might end up, just DJing for most of the stream. We'll see. If you're watching this and you'd like to click on some of the links that I've got here in the agenda, there's a link to the agenda in a bunch of different places. If you're watching this on Air Mozilla, it's over in the details section over there. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's down in the video description. And if you're watching this on Twitch, it's down in the channel details. And as I add links or update things in here, you'll see this little spinny spin. And if you reload, you should, if all goes well, see the episode guide update. If you end up hearing a dog whining, it's because we also have a dog visitor, and I think he misses. We're dog sitting. I think he misses his real parents. George, come here, George. You want to say hello to the internet? Not interested. Okay, let us move forward. What are we doing today? What's going on? Well, a couple of things. First of all, yeah, I want to acknowledge I'm not just dressed up like Mixmaster Mike for no reason. Tomorrow is Halloween, so welcome to this spooky episode at a spooky alternative time. The second thing is, hey, this is pretty neat. 20 years of Firefox. So I wasn't here at the very beginning, whenever they spun Firefox out of the Mozilla suite at the time. But as a user of Firefox, or someone who had been following the Mozilla suite, was a fan of Netscape back in the day, I certainly was aware of the release of Firefox. I think I was reading Slashdot when 1.0 came out, and everyone was very excited. George, come here, buddy. Come here, George. All right. He might be a little disruptive during this stream. I apologize. That's just part of the No Plan Survives Breakfast. Anyways, something I thought we could do, if this will work, I hope that this will work, is we could check out this video and see some of the stuff that's coming up. We could freeze frame some parts of it and talk about it, because this video, which you can watch yourself, it's public and it's linked here from my agenda. It highlights not only the fact that Firefox is 20 years old. This started in 2004, I guess. I mean, started is interesting. Maybe it's since the first 1.0 release. Maybe that's where the measurement is. Because where is the beginning of Firefox? I think everyone has different. You can have a different starting point depending on what it is that you're kind of measuring, and that's different from the start of Mozilla. Mozilla has a different birthday and a different sort of initial story. But if we're talking strictly about Firefox, it's been 20 years. I've actually been involved for over half that time. So that's exciting. Let's take a look at some of this video. What we're going to do, let's watch it together. I'm going to full screen it. So I'm going to be here in the corner. Are we getting any sound here? Yeah, we're getting sound. Okay, I'm going to full screen it. I'm going to sit in the corner, and we're going to watch it. And then we're going to go back, and I'm going to start sort of framing through it, and we're going to look at some things. So let's watch the whole thing. Here we go.
I like Firefox because all the cool people use it.
Wow. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff in there. Let's go through it. Okay, the first thing, let's just get into the features. The first thing that they bring about is something that's probably already familiar to you. If you've been watching the stream, you'll notice that my new tab background looks like this. You can actually make today, if you're using Firefox, you can go to the gear menu here and you can change your background. And we just recently added some new ones to photographs. So there's some new ones in here that you can check out and try. And I liked this one. So check those out. So that's interesting. What else we have here? So we do backgrounds. You can get solid colors and some photographs. What's next? Marking up PDF. So we've been able to do this for a little while. This is the thing. This is something I think we launched this year. Let's see if PDF.js test file. Let's see if we can find the. Or let's just find a PDF. Let's find a PDF. Demo. Is there a PDF that we can view? This is a PDF. Where is this hosted? If we look at the UI, the source here, is there like a PDF? Maybe in the script. Let's take a look at the script. Viewer. .pdf. Compressed trace monkey script. Yeah, okay. So I suspect that it's there. So let's go back. We're going to test and see if this is where it actually is. /web/ Okay, yeah. So this is the PDF. And then one of the tools I can draw. I can highlight. Whoop, 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 whoop. And then I can, draw. I'm going to put a smiley face here. What else can I do? I can change the color. So we're gonna choose a green, and I'm gonna put a line under BZ's name. Oh, I guess that changed the line over here as well. Oh, I didn't mean to cross out your name, BZ. Mason, I remember you. Yeah, Blake Kaplan, Mr. BCap. It's classic names here. Jay Orendorf. Yeah. These are Shaver, of course. Yeah, that's a thing you can do in PDF.js. Very nice. What else? What else you've got? Preview your open tabs. Wait, right-click, save as PDF. Can you select hand mode? Can I select hand mode? Let's select hand mode. What's hand mode? Hand mode. Hand tool. Hand tool. Is this what you're talking about? Can you select hand mode? Is this what you mean, Nocris? Hand mode? Okay, there you go. Hand mode. All right, what else do we have? Preview your open tabs. Yeah, we've had this for a while as well, where we get these things. I'm actually going to let you in on a kind of a neat one. Why is it not in the toolbar? My guess is I don't know. I don't work on PDF.js. That's going to be sort of the TLDR if you have questions on some of these things. Is a lot. Most of what you're seeing here, I haven't not worked directly on, but I can make some educated guesses. I will say that we probably want to keep the toolbar from being overwhelming. That's the problem with toolbars, is if you put everything in them, then they just kind of become this noisy surface that people interact with less. So you want to put the things that people really want or really use frequently in the main set, and then you put things that are maybe less useful or used only some of the time in the menu itself. That's the same sort of rationale between what by default shows up in the navigation bar versus what shows up inside of our menus. So there's like there's like sort of thresholds there. What's used 80% of the time, what's used 18% of the time, what's used 2% of the time, that sort of thing. All right, what else we have? Preview or open tabs. I was just about to mention, so we've got these tab previews. Those are great. You'll notice that in certain cases, if you have your own tabs open, maybe after you restart your session, because we don't load the tab in the background, when you or automatically, if you restore a session, we don't like reload all of the open tabs. If you hover over any of the background tabs that haven't loaded yet, you're going to get one that looks like this, where it doesn't include a thumbnail. Well, we're actually working on a way right now to preserve a low resolution visualization of the pages that compresses nicely and doesn't reveal, like, we don't have to store any potentially sensitive information. So for example, if you were on like your bank website and we took a screenshot of it and saved it to disk, that is a point of vulnerability where someone could exfiltrate that screenshot and look at your bank balance or whatever. Like that's the sort of thing that we want to avoid. And so, but we still want it to be possible for people to get a sense of what the tab that they're hovering might look like when they restore it. So let me show you the pref first of all of the thing that we're tinkering with. This is the pref. Now this is very experimental still. I think it's only on nightly. Maybe it'll only be held to nightly. I'm not sure if you can enable this on beta just yet, but these are called wireframes, and this is the pref that you can flip to true. And once you flip that to true, then if you browse around a little bit, as you navigate, we'll remember in session state a low resolution description of the page, geometric description of the page that you visited, such that if there is no live version of the page to show a preview for, we'll show a low resolution preview instead. Simon wants to know what my costume is. I'm a Mixmaster Mike. Whoop, 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 whoop. I'm from the Beastie Boys. Smurfy says that the pref's available in the 132 release. That is true, but the actual, it's actually been around for a long time. We've had this technology for collecting these low res wireframes. We just didn't have a great place to use them. It was like this experimental thing that we were tinkering with, as some people were tinkering with, and we didn't have a great application for them. And then we realized that the thumbnails over here are a great application for them. Let me actually demonstrate. Let's go to Bugzilla. So here's Bugzilla, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to this new tab. I'm going to unload this tab. I've got an extension that allows me to unload a tab called Discard Tab. So it's unloaded. And now I'm going to hover. Now, normally, whenever you hover an unloaded tab, it won't show a thumbnail. But I think, yeah, we get a low-resolution thumbnail. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to try and zoom in. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm always worried about doing the sort of these kind of zooms on Mac OS. I don't know if this is going to work. Is this going to work? I don't think. There was a keyboard shortcut that allowed me to, like, do full. Yeah, well, that's in the web content. There used to be one that allowed me to zoom. I think it's like an accessibility setting, and I may have lost that state, that preference, because I think you have to enable it, and I think I don't have it enabled on this machine. But check that out. That's a low resolution wireframe. Let's do one that's a little more maybe colorful. Here's Facebook. This is what Facebook looks like. That's my testing email account, in case people are curious. And now let's go back here. Let's unload Facebook. And there, that is a low resolution description. I don't know if you can tell. There's no text. it's just geometry. So it's just a description of the rectangles from back to front on the page. There's definitely no text. There's some color information, and that's enough for us to draw this image in the event that the page isn't loaded into memory. So that's something we're tinkering with, and we may or may not stick with it. The red dot stands out, says Ocris. Yeah, what is that red dot? Oh, that's probably like, that's how many unread need infos need my attention. Like my dashboard is telling me like, you have need infos that you need to address, which is true. So anyways, that's a pref you might be interested in. Let's keep looking at this video. Okay, so we've got our tab previews. What's next? What's coming? Okay, so what we're seeing here is maybe something you caught wind of. This is a revamped design of the settings page. So let's see if we can find, because it was posted to GitHub, and then there was like a big, we just like, of course we do it, well, we post the designs, we don't, we just put them on GitHub, that's fine. And then somehow it got a lot of attention. It was very surprising that I think how much attention it got, but let's see if we can find it. Firefox settings redesign UX GitHub, where is it? Prototype for Firefox settings redesign. This sounds right. And we ended up, posting it to get both internal and external feedback. This was back in August of this year. People started to connect with us on connect.mozilla.org. That's a great place to talk to us about feature ideas, about, you'll have engineers and product managers and whoever show up inside of Connect to talk and get feedback from our user community and our developer community about ideas that we have, and this is one of them. And so, yeah, it's a redesign of About Preferences. Because if you look at About Preferences, I mean, it's not dramatically different in terms of structure. The search has been moved to the left, and you still have this sort of navigation pane, and you've got this sort of list of things. But like, it is clearly visually more segmented, as opposed to today's About Preferences, which it's relying a lot more on white space and subtle. It's a lot more subtle, and it feels a little more crowded. I think you get a little bit more division of concern here. Like additional protections is clearly this blob, this bucket, this rectangle. DNS over HTTPS is clearly just the stuff in here. So this is something that I think is is actually work. The infrastructure work to support this is already underway. But yeah, our designers have been getting feedback from people, and if you're curious to get involved about like giving feedback, preferences redesign, this is the Connect page. You can get involved there. Okay, what else? Let's keep looking at the video. Relevant news. You're right. Okay, so this is something that I believe is on in certain regions, because not every region has the stories shown underneath your top sites or the search or whatnot on the new tab page. But if you let me launch a build. If you are in a region where you can get these stories, where you see stories, you can actually customize the topics that float up to the top. So you can pick your interests and say that you're interested in just like sports and tech, and then it should, put business here for some reason. It's possible that, I think it attempts to sort it so that the things that you have selected float to the top. I'm not sure why business went here. I think it's possible that this is part of the calculation for surfacing things at the top, and the other thing that might be, I have business selected. That's why it's up there. And you could add like, I don't know, if you care about food, you can add food, get some food things in here too. Yeah, so you can kind of customize your interests. You don't have to. Sorry, my phone is an alarm. You can just like get the default set, that's fine. But if you really want to care more about, if you want more control over the kinds of things that you're seeing here, well, first of all, if you don't want to see them at all, you can turn them off inside this gear menu. But if you do want to hear about, like, I don't know, science stories and entertainment stories, then you can do that if that's the stuff that matters to you. So there you go. What else? You can upvote and downvote, I think, as well. And if you can see these stories, you can help sort of Mozilla understand what things you're interested in. You know, if you want to see more stories about like children's books, this is a powerful signal, and it'll improve your feed. So there you go. You can also downvote things if like I definitely don't want to hear about Springsteen. You can like downvote that if you have a problem with Bruce Springsteen. Okay, organizing. Okay, profile management. Now I don't have this enabled, but there is some. I know that work has been underway here for a while, and I don't have a build that I can show you personally. Like there's a build time flag. It's there is an about config flag for it to enable some of the UI, I believe. Let's see if we can find it. Profiles. Browser profiles enabled. So, whoops. I think I probably have to restart the browser. I guess that's not enough. Do I have to do other things? I might need the build time pref enabled. And that pref, the build time... Pref is not the right term. The build time flag is possibly going to be flipped sometime this week or next. So people on Nightly hopefully will be able to start testing the new profile management soon. So the profile manager command argument is going to open the old one, I believe. Let's find out. That should open the old one. This is the old Zool. This is the profile tool, that UI that's been used forever. Now, people, you may be curious, like, why is this taking so long? Isn't this just like updating some of the UI so that it looks better? No, not at all. We're actually changing how as part of this, changing how profiles work under the hood. Because the existing profile system that Firefox has used since it got spun out of Netscape, or the Mozilla suite, you know, it's powerful. You can really segment your life, but there are a number of serious drawbacks with it. One of them is like if you've got multiple profiles open at the same time, the logic for what is going to handle URLs being opened from other applications is really, I think, non-deterministic, or it can be very unexpected if you have multiple profiles open. And I think there's also issues with like which one will open by default if you've had multiple open at once. So like there's a whole retooling going on for profiles, and that's where most of the time and effort is going, is retooling Gecko to support this profile system. And you know, we need to also have state for like the name of the well, we've always held the name of the profile, but like we want to be able to remember an icon for it. We want to remember a specific theme, a default theme for it, and maybe more things. You know, maybe in time there'll be more things that you can set here. But this has involved a little bit more than just like revamping the old Zool profile selector, which would not have taken nearly this long. So the team there has been doing a lot of heroics. Okay, here we go. Vertical tabs. This is one that people have been asking for a long time. You can tell I've got mine enabled. This is something you can enable right now in Nightly and maybe in beta. You might actually be able to enable this in beta right now. If you go to settings under Firefox Labs, if you enable sidebar and vertical tabs, you can get this. And I love this. Like I've become very used to the side tabs. I can still use the horizontal tabs, but for some reason I'm really enjoying the side tabs. Like I'm having to really kind of get used to these horizontal tabs now all of a sudden. You can customize the sidebar to show it on the right side. You can turn off the stuff that you don't need. You can get extensions to show up in here. It's quite nice. What else we got? Groups. Okay, groups. Let's enable some tab groups and let's take a look at that. Will Profile Manager update make it possible to import settings or extensions from another profile, or at least make a clone? I don't know. That's a good question. we do have the ability to migrate from other Firefoxes. So possibly, it's a little tricky. One of the things that we have to really be careful about is users who are signed into accounts. If you've got multiple profiles and one account, one Firefox account, they're all going to kind of like intermingle. So if you're expecting to segment your life with multiple profiles and you make sure that they're all signed into the same account, they're all going to be like sharing the same add-ons and the same history and the same bookmarks. So there's like a little bit of work there on the, there's, I think, some communications work that needs to be done about like profiles versus accounts. And I know that the team has been thinking a lot about that. That was something we identified really, really early on as a confusion or a source of confusion. Okay, let's take a look at tab groups. This is something you can enable by flipping this pref. Again, this is I'm really letting you in behind the scenes. This is not enabled by default yet. This is going to have bugs. This is not something that you want to run around and show off to the world because it's polished. There's going to be serious problems here. That's why it's not released yet. But I want to show you where it's at. So I've flipped that on. I'm gonna flip it on. I'm gonna restart the browser. All right, let's open up some new tabs. Let's go to the CBC, let's go to NPR, let's go to my website, let's go to Wikipedia, and let's go to Facebook. Okay, so bunch of tabs open. Let's create a tab group for news. So if I select a couple of tabs here, I can right click and I can say add tabs to new group. I get this little guy, I'm gonna say news. I'm gonna give that, blue is a nice color for that, done. So now these are in a tab group. And there's a little blue line to indicate that these two are together. And I can collapse the group so that the news is here. I don't know if I can move the group just yet. I can move things around the group. I can create a group by dragging, I believe. So like if this one will highlight purple, and now I've created a new group, I'm going to call this something else, and it's purple. And now I can collapse that. I think I can drag a tab into this group. Can I drag a tab into the group? No? I might have to expand the group and then I can drag a tab into it. Yeah, there we go. What else? I don't think it works in vertical tabs mode just yet. I can have multiple tab groups unfolded, or I can fold them up. I don't think we've got them saving to session state yet. I think that's still coming. Let's see what else is coming. I can ungroup the tabs. I can change the colors here. I can eventually delete the group, but right now I can't delete the group. Can I create a group within a group? That's a good question. Let's try and do that. This may break things. Again, I've created a separate group now. News 2. By doing that, can I, if I move this over here, now I've created a new group. What's going on? So dragging and dropping appears to create new groups each time. I don't know what the deal with that is. I don't know what happened to news 1, but that's interesting. What else was I going to try? I was going to try putting a group in a group. So let's select this one and let's add tab to group. New group. Okay, so it takes it out of that group and it puts it over here. Test. Okay. Neat. Good job, tab groups, people. Ungroup tabs. Ungroup tabs. Ungroup tabs. So, again, not ready for usage. Not ready for usage, but it's coming. This is a thing that people have been clamoring for some reason. I guess they really want to be able to manage their tabs this way. I don't know. Maybe it's like vertical tabs where you have to use it for a while and then all of a sudden it kind of makes sense. I don't know if I'll ever use tab groups, but maybe I will. But people have really been asking for it, and we're doing it. Okay, let's keep going. Now this stuff is not built out yet. There's no sidebar section for tab groups, but presumably this is coming. Sidebar support and vertical tab support for tab groups. And being able to restore groups and close them. Cool. So that's that video. There you go. What else is in the news before we continue? I want to briefly plug Thunderbird for Android. Are you using Android? Do you use the Android operating system on your mobile device, or maybe even a desktop device? Maybe you'd like to use Thunderbird. Guess what? You can. Just today, this is hot off the press. Boop, 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 boop. Hot off the press. Thunderbird is now available on Android. Download today. I've been using the beta of this for a while. I really like it. It's really, it's really natural. Like, if you've ever used K9 Mail, it'll feel familiar, but it does have that sort of Thunderbird sheen to it. You know, this isn't just a reskin of K9. This is, you know, a lot of work has been done to make it easy to like set up your accounts and yeah, it's pretty polished at this point. I'm very eager to see where the Thunderbird team goes with it. Yeah, it's exciting. And if you want more information, check out this blog post. It's got a bunch of links, you know, to the release notes and what's coming up. Let's take a look at what's new. First off, donors welcome. And then you can import settings. That's what's new. What else? Detailed release notes. Oh, this is interesting. So Thunderbird for Android exists in GitHub. It's using a Material 3 folder drawer. You can migrate your settings. You can make financial contributions. Updated OAuth support, enhanced folder management, translations, accessibility improvements, fixed some crashes, updated the text color of read messages in the message list for better visibility. That's good. So yeah, stuff's coming. I'm eager to see where this goes. So congratulations to the Thunderbird team. Okay, so there was a question. That was sent to me in the rate this episode form, and the question was: I saw the promotion of an upcoming Firefox tab groups feature. Yes, we were just looking at it. Was hoping you and maybe Danny Cullen, if he's watching the stream, which he is, I think I saw him in the chat. Yes, he's in the chat. Could advise whether this will play nicely with multi-account containers, as I imagine there will be a lot of UI UX overlap between them. That's a great question. That is a great question, because I can imagine there being conceptually there is a kind of an overlap here, where, you know, what you're doing is you're segmenting things, you're dividing things up into buckets, into sets, and I think it really depends on user intent. So containers is the sort of thing where if you get it, if you understand things like cookies and session state and you know, mainly how websites like store things about themselves in your local browser, containers, you know, light bulb goes off. Like, oh, you know, I can create multiple containers and I can have one for like work and personal and shopping or whatever, banking, and kind of segment my browser tabs into these different groups. But the partition is around things like what the site stores, like cookies and session state. And there was already like a sort of a visual distinction. Like if I can create a banking tab here, there's like a sort of a green highlight here to indicate that this is a banking tab. There's a little charm in here that indicate, yeah, I'm in the banking tab. And there's that way of segmenting your tabs, and then there's segmenting your tab by topic. You know, like we were doing in the demo, where I might want my user research or my research on a particular thing. Maybe I'm working on my research project for school, and everything related to that I put into one group, and then I can collapse that at the end of the day, and I can focus on things over here. And it's possible that you're gonna want to be able to have different containers within that topic area. Like, it really depends. I don't know if there's a hard and fast rule. There is definitely an overlap. There's definitely an overlap conceptually. And I think the team has a really interesting UX challenge here. This is effectively a UX challenge and a user expectation challenge of how do you communicate these different ways of segmenting your tabs such that users kind of understand them. We think that the tab grouping one is much more understandable than containers for your run-of-the-mill user. Like, it is very clear from the usage patterns of the multi-account containers extensions that like that is maybe more useful for people who understand client-side storage, things like cookies and session state. They get Facebook container. People understand Facebook container. When we shipped that to help sort of like fence in all requests for Facebook behind a container, that really resonated. People understood that immedely as sort of like a prophylactic for a particular site. The idea that you could sort of create different bags, to use the prophylactic metaphor again here, like for different kinds of session state is interesting, but like I think users have a harder time getting that. Danny Cullen writes, I've been talking with a few Firefox developers working on tab group about these overlaps so that they know about users wanting something like that. Yeah, and so we'll see how it goes. I'm not working on tab groups. Other people are working on tab groups. I'm very interested to see where it goes, but I actually don't think I know the answer. We can take a quick peek to see whether or not there's anything related to containers in the tab groups stuff. Let's see if we can find information on tab groups. Tab group menu. So there's this notion of a piece of UI called a tab group. Is there anything in here about a user context ID? There is not. The user context ID is the identifier for a container in Gecko land. Neurotor writes, I was so hyped about this account transfer and now it crashes when you scan the QR code. Are you talking about the Thunderbird? You're trying to get Thunderbird installed and it's crashing? If so, that's a great bug to file. We do like to get crash reports so that we can fix them. So I think there's something in here about probably you can file bugs, not here, sorry, in the GitHub. Are there issues here? Yeah, you can maybe file bugs in here. It's interesting that it's done in GitHub rather than Bugzilla and Mercurial, but that's okay. Daniel Cullen writes, my personal opinion is there's potential to merge connect both features without forcing it on users that do not want it. That's key, right? That's key, is we don't want to necessarily force these sort of weird, we don't want to scare people off by making it too complicated and to force people to have to understand how web browsers work. Like, we don't want that. Something like having a private tab groups that you could flip on if you enabled containers in Firefox. Yeah, something like that maybe. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, I don't see anything about containers in any of the tab group code. So I'm going to say there's clearly conversations happening between the people working on containers, the multi-account containers extension and the underlying platform support and the tab groups feature. Those conversations are ongoing, but it doesn't look like the existing tab groups UI work does anything special with containers. Now let's just see what happens if I create a container inside of a group. Like if I add tabs to group 1 and I create a banking group tab, can I put a banking tab inside the group? That, can I add that to group 1? Yes. So I can have a banking and then ungroup. So I can have a banking tab inside of group 1. That's interesting. And like, this seems fairly intentional that there is the line above kind of indicates this is a particular container. The line below indicates what group we're in. Now that's complicated, but it kind of biased, like the complication is on the side of the people who are going to experience this are the people who use containers, multi-account containers in the first place. And for now, at least, I would expect if they're using multi-account containers, they understand what's going on here. It's different ways of slicing and dicing your tabs. Maybe overcomplicated. All right. Anyways, hopefully that answers your question. Whoever asked that, that came in, and now we know. All right, let's move on. Let's keep going with the work we were doing last week with customizable UI documentation. We were writing documentation, and I think we should continue with that. We had gotten pretty far along. I haven't touched it since we last worked on it, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check out the branch. We're going to rebase on Bookmarks Central. Make sure that applies cleanly. Okay. We're gonna build faster, and then I'm gonna mock doc, and then let's take a look at, I think what we had talked about doing last time was we were going to start adding some of the missing documentation. Like this one is missing inline documentation. We had fully documented panel multi-view. We've got partial documentation of customizable UI. We have none in customizable UI widgets, none in customize mode, none of the sort of JS doc stuff. We've got none in drag position manager. We've got none in search widget tracker. So maybe let's try and do search widget tracker and toolbar context menu today. Maybe we can knock those out today. Oh, it's complaining. I think I might have to do mock build, because I didn't have any local artifacts. Right? Okay. And mock, doc, browser components, customizable UI docs. Just gonna install a bunch of stuff. I guess there was some kind of updating to, oh yeah, PyWatchman, very good, very good. Building our docs. Uh-oh, okay, so it looks like I'm failing some, oh, checking consistency. There's a warning, 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 warning. Duplicate static function description. So it looks like some new linting was added, and I'm failing some rules here. Oh, unexpected indentation. That's an error. And then there's a bunch of these warnings, and then checking consistency. I got a warning there, and then a known failure. This is a known failure. Unexpected failure. Duplicate static function. Okay, so let's take a look at what's going on here. Panel, multi-view. What line are you complaining about? On line 367, I think is what it's complaining about. 367. That can't be right. 196. Duplicate static function for hide pop-up. The other static function. So there's an existing static function called hide pop-up. There's really only one. Duplicate static function description of panel multi-view. Other static function. And then there's one for open pop-up. Now there is hide pop-up, which is not a static function. Do I have to decorate static hide pop-up with static? Is that important? Will that make it not complain as much? Okay, still a lot of complaints. That did not help. Duplicate static function description. And these are warnings, but they're unexpected failures. And we, I guess, don't like warnings. Duplicate static function description. And then also unexpected indentation. This was all building before. To be clear, I want to let it be known, I want to go on the record and say this was all building before. Unexpected indentation. What you talking about? Let's see if we can find more context. I ran it again here, so what if I do this? Still upset? Still upset. Okay. Just double checking. Just double checking. You never know. But this is new. This was working before I rebased. I'm fairly certain. Oh. But now my errors, my warnings are different. It doesn't say anything about... Okay. This is different now. It doesn't say anything about hide pop-up or open pop-up. Now it's just these things. Warning, TOC tree contains reference to non-existing document glossary index. Mock doc object staging contains reference to a non-existing document. Can I make these... Is this like... Disable warnings? Yeah, let's disable warnings check. Can I just do that? There we go. So I think what's happening is because I was just building a single directory, it was being it was like, hey, where are all the other where are all the other pages? Where are all the other pages? That none of them have been built. Which is strange because we're supposed to be able to build an individual directory. So I think something recently is broken here. I might have to talk to someone about it. All right. Anyways, I wanted to focus on documenting these two things. Let's start with search widget tracker. What is this thing? Updates persisted widths when the search bar is removed and removes the search bar based on usage. So if I remember correctly, the search widget, what we're talking about, let's see here. The search widget. Oh, I'm already running here. Let's close. The search widget is this thing. So by default, it's not in the toolbar anymore, but hamsters, you can search from there. And I think that's what we mean by the search widget. And what is the search widget tracker doing? So the first thing it does, there's an init method and a listener. And so let's see where it's initted. So not long, like when we're initializing customizable UI, we'll initialize something called the search widget tracker. And its job is to listen for DOM changes and to see whether or not... Oh, I see. If the search widget is ever removed, we're going to adjust we're going to update the persisted widths. We're going to reset the search bar Oh, I see. Okay. Win of customizable windows. Search bar goes get the widget ID. Or get it from the palette. We're going to remove... Right, because one of the things you can do is you can actually adjust, I think, the width. Is that true? You used to be able to. I don't know if that's true anymore. You used to be able to... Maybe it had to be next to the URL bar. Yeah, that's what it is. If it's next to the URL bar, you get this sort of flexing capability. If there's a space here, you don't get that. But what it's saying is, okay, now suppose I move this out of here, and then I move it back. Let's move it back. It resets. Okay. Okay. I think I understand. Remove. Put back. Put over here. Got it. Hamster. Okay. Makes sense. That's all it's doing. When is this used? Update search bar visibility based on usage. So depending, when we initialize, we check to see if the widget is in the nav bar. If it's not, we'll check to see when it was last used. And if it's not been used, oh, right. So one thing we had noticed is that people had this, there's a bit of a typo there. People had been using, maybe had inherited this widget in the nav bar for like, because like that's the way Firefox used to be. Let's take a look at the UI for Firefox 1.0. Let's look at the UI for it. Firefox 1.0. There's your search widget right there. Woo! Blast from the past. Here it is with Windows XP 1.0. So search widget existed, and there are some people who've been with us since that time, and they may use this or they may not. And if they've just kind of had it sitting in their nav bar taking up space and they haven't been using it, then we'll go ahead and remove it, because the URL bar it does your searching for you. Like you can have the search bar, but if you've not been using it, we wanted to try and be helpful and not have it take so much space, because it takes a significant. It's more than just a button; it's a whole text input. So we're trying to give you back some of that space. And so if this is a thing that you have not used in however long, which is how many remove after days unused. Let's see how much that is. 120 days. If you haven't used it in 4 months, right? 4 months. No, it's 120 days, right? Was it 1,000? No, it's 120 days. If we haven't seen you use it in 4 months, we figure, okay, that's enough time. You probably don't need this thing anymore, and we'll get rid of it. And we'll put it in the customized palette. So if you change your mind, you can put it back. Okay, I understand now what this thing does. It removes the search bar. I'm gonna move this down here. Updates persisted widths when the search bar is removed from the navigation toolbar. Remove persisted widths. Oh, just removed from is removed from any customizable area and put into the palette. Also automatically removes the search bar if it has not been used in a long time. Okay. let's see if we can create a document for this. New file. It's going to be called search widget tracker.rst. And what do we do over here? Okay, search widget tracker. And then we're gonna grab this stuff. Let's see if this builds. Yeah, the variable is in milliseconds. Yeah, so what do we do? We look at the date. We construct, this is days. We take that number, we multiply it by 24 hours, by 60 minutes, by 60 seconds, and then milliseconds. We convert it to milliseconds, basically. And then we do a comparison. Okay. Cool. All right, so we've got it showing up here. We need to start documenting these methods. Main entry point to initializing the search widget tracker. Yeah. I don't know if that's that helpful as a comment, but all right. This is on widget after DOM change. We actually have a type def, I think. Callback. That's this one. Property. So it takes, this is a callback. How do we do this? Property on widget after. Callback. Can I just do this? What happens if I just do that? No, no good. How do I describe a callback? JSDoc. Callback for adding to callback add stuff. Param. How do I say that the thing is the callback? Is there a way for me to do that? JSDoc, describe a callback function on object. So not exact callback function. So they're being very strict where they're saying a callback is something that you pass as a parameter to a function. I'm just saying this is a function signature. JSDoc reusable function signature. Reused function interface. Param. Specify the type of function because type on a function is interpreted to be the return type, not the entire function definition. Some does not work. You can get it to work with the following, but it's not a great solution. If you wrap the function declaration parens, it seems to allow the type. Oh, okay. So let's try this. Let's try this. Type Let's see what it thinks of that. Okay. It doesn't... Do I have to, like, do something like this? It'd be great if, like, it automatically populated it with the different parameters that that callback expects. Urgh. Let's read that again. Interesting. Maybe this is what I type. Do I have to, like, import it? Typedef import customizable UI.sys.mjs. What does that do? Will you understand this? I would be so surprised. Yeah. We're gonna have to copy it. Oh, that's such a pain. That's such a pain. Maybe someone else will see what I'm doing and be sympathize. But whoops. Node. I guess the names are different too. Next node. Container was removal. The callback for when a widget is moved via customizable UI. We use this to detect movement of the search bar. Okay, update search bar visibility based on usage. Okay, what this thing doesn't return anything. What it does is checks to see if the search bar is in the nav bar, navigation bar, toolbar. This method will check the last used preference to see when the last time the search bar was actually used. If it exceeds remove after days unused, if it exceeds a certain threshold, if the number of days since it was last used exceeds a certain threshold, the widget is moved back into the customization palette. Okay, remove persisted widths. This thing removes any width customization on the search bar, which can be done with the resizer, which can be created with the resizer that appears if the search bar is placed immediately after the URL bar. Goes through each browser window and remove each opened browser open browser window and removes the width property style and /style on each existent search bar. So this is type Boolean. True if the search bar is currently in the navigation toolbar area. There you go. Documented. Documented. Let's go ahead and, yeah, I think we have to rebuild. Nice. So we can go back to the index. Where's the main index? Customizable. If I go to like here and then just go to docs, then I get this. Yeah, search widget tracking. This is very nice. Next, toolbar context menu. Let's understand what this thing does. Well, actually, what we should do is commit git add browser components customizable docs search widget tracker git status git add browser components customizable UI git commit or what's the format? Okay. Add inline documentation. Add inline I guess JS doc documentation for search widget tracker. Let's get Dale Harvey to review that one. He's on the search team. Or you know what? Mandy Chang. I know Mandy. Mandy's on the search team. Might be interested in reviewing that. All right. Next up, toolbar context menu. What does this thing do? Okay, so what we have here, this is interesting. You're about to watch me explore this piece of code that I'm not immediately familiar with. Like, it's possible I'll remember what this is, but I'm going in pretty cold. Obviously, it has something to do with a context menu, probably what opens up whenever you right-click on the toolbars. I don't know how it works, or I don't remember how it works, and we're going to figure that out together. You're going to get to observe me as I do that. So if you notice something and you want me to figure it out, I'll try, but I'm gonna be learning this as I go, or remembering it as I go. So classic preamble, we import a bunch of stuff, set up some lazy preference getters, and then we're exporting this object toolbar context menu. So one of the things I like to do before I even explore stuff like this is I like to see how it's used. So we're going to look and see how toolbar what imports it. So I'm going to ignore all of the tests that import it. I guess it's not really imported by tests. There's a number of files that refer to it. These are just one of the globals. These are the strings. We're building it here. Sidebar. Okay. Over here. Okay. This seems to be, what is this? Is this an event handler? Add event listener command. So in the event that we see, that that we see a command with these IDs, we can delegate that to the toolbar context menu. Some of these we delegate, some of them we don't. Like selecting all tabs is not delegated, but always open downloads panel. I wonder, where does that come from? Okay, so this is the DOM structure for the toolbar context menu. And so we've got this other stuff over here in main toolbar set, which actually like listens to the various command events that might come up from the DOM and may then feed back into toolbar context menu. So toolbar context menu, it sounds like, is like a thing. It's an event handler. It's an event handler. A big bag of event handlers. It exposes methods. Okay, and we've got some private things here. But for the most part, it's an event handler. What calls like update extension? Main pop-up set. So yeah, here, toolbar context menu, update extension. All right, let's see what these things do. Update downloads auto hide pop-up. So let's see who calls that. So in the event that we see the toolbar context menu, what is this event? Oh, okay. So I remember some of this. So in Zoolland, you set an attribute and you provide an ID to indicate which context menu is associated with your element. So in this case, in like the vertical tabs box, the context menu is the toolbar context menu. And similarly, in the main menu bar, toolbar context menu, the tabs toolbar, it's the toolbar context menu. So a bunch of different toolbars share the same context menu. And then when it opens, like what happens is the, let's try and remember what happens. Let's take a look at the definition of it again. Here's the menu pop-up. Presumably, when this opens up, we handle it inside of main pop-up set. Do we have like a pop-up handler? What kind of a event handler are pop-up showing? Yeah, okay. So when the DOM elements that are represented by the like the toolbar context menu pop-up opens, a pop-up showing event will be dispatched on the pop-up, then we'll handle it here and we'll call into our module. So our module's job, I think in this case, is to update the pop-up before it's actually shown. That's what's happening. That's a fairly common pattern in Firefox and Geckoland, is you wait until the pop-up is about to be shown and then you like grab the current state that you care about and you update the pop-up before it's actually shown. Because showing is what is fired before the pop-up actually presents. So this gives you an opportunity to synchronously set the state of the pop-up. And so we have a bunch of methods here on toolbar context menu that presumably set the state of the context menu. So let's see what they do. Update downloads auto hide. So what we'll do is we'll get the pop-up owner global, in this case, is just the window. So we're getting at the document and the downloads button globals on the browser window. We get at the checkbox for the auto hide downloads button. If you're not sure what that is, there is a, where is it? Here, let's restart and restore defaults. So this is the toolbar context menu. And I think if we right click on the button here, then yeah, we show this thing. That's, I think, part of the logic here. The checkbox, we get the checkbox. We check to see whether or not the pop-up the trigger node will be whatever it is that you were context clicking at the time. And if it happens to be the downloads button or the thing that wraps the downloads button when you're in customize mode, then we are setting this to true, which means, yeah, you are right clicking on you are context clicking on the downloads button in some particular situation. And if that's the case, then we unhide the checkbox. And then in the event that we are configured to auto hide the downloads button whenever downloads aren't underway, we will have that checkbox checked state set to true. Otherwise, it'll be unchecked. Okay, I understand what's going on here. Okay, let's document this. Let's also document this. So event handlers, various event handlers to set the state of the toolbar context menu pop-up, as well as to handle commands from that pop-up. Handles some commands from that pop-up. Okay. If the pop-up context menu pop-up is being triggered by the downloads button, or sets the visibility of the auto hide the downloads button checkbox based on whether the downloads button was what was context clicked. I think we can be clear there. Makes visible the auto hide the downloads button checkbox in the pop-up in the event that the downloads button was context clicked. Otherwise, hides that checkbox. This method also sets the checkbox state depending on the current user configuration for hiding the downloads button. Schizophrenic web developer asks, why are you documenting this? What does this documenting communicates what the code does not communicate? Great question. Great question, schizophrenic web developer. Why am I even doing this? What's the point? What's the point of documentation? You can just read the source code. So the answer is speed. Speed and ease of understanding. And the fact that the inline documentation that I'm writing here gets pulled out automatically into these pages, these source docs. Sorry, I don't have it being built right now, but so that we can get nice, readable, searchable documentation like this. So that people who are exploring how customizable UI works don't have to dive into the source code right away. They can get a reference to get a sense of how it works under the hood. And that's a nice place to sort of like get people up to speed so that they can then make changes to it, as opposed to sort of throwing them at a big ball of unfamiliar code and just saying, well, just read it and understand it. That's a great way of having people not make changes to it. How do you keep the documentation up to date? Great question. I mean, that's something that you need to enforce at review time. Certainly we have linting that ensures that like the properties, the arguments that are being passed to the functions matches the sort of the parameters, at least the naming of them. We don't use TypeScript just yet, or at least most of Firefox isn't using TypeScript. So we don't have like any type checking going on here. So it's kind of enforced culturally at review time. So, you know, if I'm reviewing a patch and I see someone modifying the behavior of this method, I'll also be looking at the doc string up here and being like, okay, it needs to be updated because you've changed what it actually does or what it accepts or what it returns. And then that will automatically manifest in our published source docs. And, you know, that's one of the nice reasons for adding this inline documentation is if the documentation was missing, I wouldn't be so inclined probably to be like, can you update the documentation? There is no documentation to update. Maybe I'd say, can you document this for me? But that usually is just like a problem. That's like scope creep, is if you, as someone like makes a small change in here to add like a new argument and you go, hey, yeah, can you like document this entire file? Is kind of unreasonable. But it's easier if everything is already documented. And then you can say, can you update the documentation for the change you just made? So by taking the time to document it now across the board, you make it easier to keep the documentation up to date, culturally speaking. And as a rule of thumb, I try and make it so that any new modules that I create, any new chunks of code, start with inline documentation that works with JSDoc right away, so that you have the culture of documentation from the very beginning. The good thing is that you're keeping the documentation close to the code, easier to update. Exactly. What it used to be long ago, the documentation for a lot of Firefox internal stuff was on MDN. What you might know from as like the documentation source for all web technologies, MDN. Like that is like the documentation for the web is MDN, Mozilla Developer Network. And it used to be that you could find like Firefox source documentation there, and it was like a manually edited wiki. You updated the wiki, and that was really it was way too easy for the source code and the wiki to get out of sync with one another, because it was just manually you had to remember to update the wiki, the update the developer documentation. And so this way we can have the developer documentation be something that lives right alongside it, and it's easier to keep it up to date. Absolutely. So this is an element. The toolbar context. What is it called? What is this thing called? Toolbar context menu element. Element or a window. And that's it. Okay. Next, on downloads, auto hide change. What causes that to be called? So this is not a pop-up event handler. This is an event. This is a command event handler, and this is the actual. This is the checkbox from that is being displayed up above here. Handler for the command. So this is the command event handler for the toolbar context auto hide downloads button command event that is fired when the checkbox for auto hiding the downloads button is changed. This method does the work of updating the internal preference state for hiding for auto hiding the downloads button. Great. Update downloads always open panel. I think that's another. Who calls that? Okay, this is similar to this one, that it's updating the state of the context menu. So I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to put it here. Makes visible the always open downloads panel checkbox. That's what that's show panel when download begins. Yeah. And the pop-up in the event that the downloads button was context clicked. Otherwise hides that checkbox for showing automatically for always showing the panel. Right, does it do anything else? Hit the separator panel. In the event that we are not the downloads panel, we will hide the separator in the checkbox, otherwise we'll make it visible, and then we have a lazy getter for whether or not we always open the panel, and then we use that to determine what to set the checkbox state to. Okay. And then down here we have something similar. Handler for the toolbar. What is the event? It's not this one. It's going to be something else. Always open downloads panel. Handler for the command event is fire when the checkbox for showing the downloads panel, for always showing the downloads panel is changed. It does work updating the terminals for updating the internal preference state for always showing the downloads panel. Okay. Schizophrenic web developer writes, I saw that Google Chrome is doing preloading, so when you enter 3 characters of a website you visited in the past, it is already doing the request to the web server and loading the website. Firefox is not doing this. Are you planning to add a feature like this also in Firefox? We have something like this and have had it for a while. It's not like preloading a whole page. What we do is we speculatively connect to the endpoint. So we open up a TCP socket to the pages that we think you're about to go to, so that the overhead of making the connection we don't have to do, but we speculatively connect. And then if we were right when you press enter, then we'll make the HTTP request. It sounds like a kind of a waste of traffic to preload all of those pages. Now, that's not to say that there's no capability for preloading pages that you might go to. That's actually part of the web platform. I believe there's a way to indicate, what was it, the meta tag, meta tag, hello, meta tag. I think there's a way you can preload, submit, or maybe it's from link tags, link tag, link, fetch, blocking, cross origin, disabled, fetch priority, ref, images, policy, target. Oh man, preload. Rel equals preload. Okay, that's what it is. Rel equals preload. The preload value of the link element's rel attribute lets you declare fetch requests in the head, specifying resources that your page will need very soon when you want to start loading early in the page lifecycle before the main rendering machinery kicks in. So you can like preload JS and CSS. I think it's also possible to, I don't know if you could preload the next page. Scripts and preloads. This reminds me, speculative loading. Link pre-connect. That's helpful. DNS prefetch, preload, module preload, prefetch. Right. Preemptively fetching and caching the resource. So that allows you to prefetch some web pages actually. Pre-render was only ever available in Chrome and is now deprecated. speculation rules API is used to specify a set of rules that determine what future documents should be prefetched or pre-rendered by the browser. Okay, and then there's this whole map here. So does link rel prefetch? Like, what's the support here? Yeah, we've had that for a while. We've had it for a long time. So I don't know if that's helpful. That's not a thing that, like, this is the sort of thing that a web page can opt into doing. I think we could make guesses based on user behavior, maybe. Like, oh, you tend to go to this web page at this time of day, so we're going to prefetch it for you. Maybe. You have to balance that sort of like personalization and convenience with like user privacy and resource usage. Because what you don't want to do is get that wrong and then just like waste a bunch of network and processing time and memory doing this work that might not pay off. So I don't know if that's at all helpful. Okay, anyways, where were we? You know what? It's 3:31. I think I might have to stop there, gang. I've been doing this for about an hour and a half. We didn't get all of this module documented, but I'd say we can probably finish that off next week and probably do a little bit more. We got Search Widget Tracker done, which is nice. I got a little distracted. At the very beginning, I was talking about all the cool stuff that's coming for Firefox users soon. Maybe next week we can finish this one off. And then we're getting pretty close to being done. Well, maybe I'm being overly optimistic. We have to do some of these bigger ones. Drag Position Manager is a little, well, it's about the same size. We'll do that one. And Customize Mode, and then all of the missing ones in Customizable UI. That's the one these two I'm not looking forward to that. Same with Customizable Widgets. This is a big file. But I'm hoping that it's not so bad. We'll see. Hey, thank you so much for watching episode, what was this? 381 of The Joy of Coding. Let me know what you thought. There is a link here to rate this episode. This is also a great place to ask questions. This question that we answered earlier today, or I tried to answer anyways, came in via the form. That's a great place to ask me questions. You know, maybe after the stream's over, you're watching this recording and you have a question for me, you could ask that question or not. You know, it's up to you. But rate this episode link. Here it is. I just dropped it in the chat. You can also find it here in the agenda. I'd love to hear from you. I read everything that comes in. Let me know what you want to see more of in the stream, what you want to see less of in the stream. Maybe this documentation stuff's super boring. You want me to do something else. Let me know. And with that, I'm going to take off my Halloween costume. There. I have now taken off my Halloween costume. And we're going to call it. Thanks again for watching episode 381 of The Joy of Coding Spooky. And hopefully I will see you next week for episode 382. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.